for the months-long negotiations, but analysts also pointed to the incoming Trump administration's efforts to pressure Israel on the deal.
دولة قطر وجمهورية مصر العربية والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية الإعلان عن نجاح جهود الوساطة المشتركة بوصول طرفي النزاع في قطاع غزة إلى اتفاق بشأن تبادل الأسرى والرهائن والعودة إلى الهدوء المستدام وصولا لوقف دائم لإطلاق النار بين الجانبين.
Meanwhile, a peace deal for Ukraine would take months to work out, advisors to Donald Trump have said. Now, this is as per reports. While the president-elect has promised a quick resolution to the nearly 3-year war, analysts as well as his associates now forecast a drawn-out timeline. Hopes for a deal within Trump's first 100 days in office are way too optimistic, a former U.S. ambassador to Kiev said. As Trump's inauguration approaches, Ukraine is responding more aggressively to attacks on its energy infrastructure. Kiev, in fact, this week launched its biggest aerial assault on Russian territory since the invasion. Ukraine doesn't have much left to lose at this point, a Russian security expert said. So they can just go take ahead and take the gloves off. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now this to sign a historic 100-year partnership aimed at deepening security ties between the countries. Now the agreement focuses on military collaboration, maritime security, and making the UK a key partner in Ukraine's energy sector, critical mineral strategy, and green steel production. The treaty and accompanying political declaration will be presented to the British Parliament in the coming weeks. After half a century in politics, Joe Biden bid farewell in an Oval Office address. The outgoing US president delivered his farewell address, seizing what may be his final opportunity to reshape America's grim views on his term before he departs the White House. Joe Biden opened his speech by taking credit, in fact, for the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, delivering what could be his final chance to influence public perception of his presidency. Biden warned of an oligarchy of the ultra-wealthy taking root in America. Russian President Vladimir Putin may soon have discussions with newly elected US President Donald Trump, during which he will reportedly demand that Ukraine never join NATO. But Putin's position also contradicts Trump's stated desire to end the war as quickly as possible and may be aimed at granting Russia more flexibility, in fact, in negotiations. Reports further noted that Russia's advances in eastern Ukraine specifically have been slow and have come, quote-unquote, at a heavy cost. Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General Pam Bondi insisted at a Senate confirmation hearing Wednesday that Trump had been targeted by years of investigations. But she pledged that she would not politicize or weaponize the Justice Department if confirmed as the country's chief federal law enforcement officer. Now, the statement Wednesday echoed Trump's claims that the Justice Department had in fact been weaponized against him. The US Bureau of Industry and Security has removed 3 key Indian nuclear entities from its entity list. These organizations, the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, and the Indian Rare Earths Limited, are no longer subject to export restrictions. The removal of these Indian entities marks a key shift in US-India nuclear cooperation, potentially opening the door, some would say, for greater collaboration between the two countries in the civil nuclear sector. In a move that's raising tensions between the US and China, Beijing's Commerce Ministry, in fact, has announced that it has added 4 American companies to its so-called unreliable entity list. These companies are accused of being involved in arms sales to Taiwan, a region that China considers part of its own territory. The blacklisted companies, including Pacific Rim Defense and Summit Technologies, now face serious penalties. They'll all be banned for importing or exporting goods to and from China, and also prohibited from making new investments in the country. This move signals a sharp escalation in the ongoing tensions over Taiwan and the US-China relations as a whole. These 78 dead bodies have been retrieved from a discontinued gold mine in South Africa, where police cut off food and water supplies for months together, in what trade unions called a horrific crackdown on desperate people trying to eke out a living. Police said on Wednesday they have ended a rescue operation and still believe they have brought out all the survivors and retrieved all the bodies from the abandoned mine southwest of Johannesburg or Joburg. Turkish Airlines will now resume its flight to Damascus in Syria next week after a halt of more than a decade. Now, the development comes after a visit by a delegation of Syria's new Turkey-backed rulers. The announcement followed a visit earlier in the day by Syria's new foreign minister, Asad al-Shibani, who in fact held talks with Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and other top officials in the Turkish capital, Ankara. Al-Shibani is a part of Syria's new de facto authorities under Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or the HTS. It's an Islamist group behind the lightning insurgency that ousted ex-President Bashar Assad in December and ended his family's decades-long rule. In the U.S., Louisiana authorities have begun clearing homeless encampments in New Orleans on Wednesdays, relocating many warehouse facilities ahead of the Super Bowl hosted by the city next month. Governor Jeff Landry framed the sweep as part of a move to secure New Orleans, especially in the aftermath of a New Year's Day Islamic State group-inspired attack which killed 14 people. Blazing Los Angeles wildfires have forced thousands of students to relocate to other schools. Students from 2 elementary schools that burned down in the Palisades fires arrived Wednesday for their first day of class at 2 other LA campuses, where their classes are being held temporarily. The education disruptions come as the city grieves at least 25 deaths, thousands of destroyed homes, and 163 square kilometers of scorched land.
We have 2 schools that were either completely or almost completely burned. These are 2 elementary schools, Palisades Elementary and Marquez Elementary. Both of these schools are in the Palisades area. So there was actually capacity in these schools that allowed for us to relocate the entire student population onto their campuses. You know, it's going to take probably 2 to 2.5 years for us to rebuild those schools. During that period of time, these are the closest schools to the schools they used to attend, close to the community neighborhoods of the parents. It's the best possible accommodation for us.
Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai, Apple's Tim Cook, and other top tech leaders will attend President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Now, tech CEOs Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg will also be attending the inauguration ceremony. TikTok CEO Xiaozi Chu has reportedly been invited to sit in a position of honor on the dais, in fact, as a location typically reserved for former president, family members, and other important guests. Jordanians took to the streets Wednesday to celebrate the announcement of a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in Gaza. Hundreds of men and women carried Palestinian flags and photos of Hamas leaders chanted in support of Palestinians. Many described the ceasefire deal as a victory, in fact, for the Palestinian resistance group in the Gaza Strip. The rallies took place in several Jordanian cities and in the Palestinian refugee camps.
اليوم لنشارككم الفرحة. العالم الإسلامي كله معكم، شعوب الأرض الحرة كلها معكم. لا تنظروا للحكومات، نحن الشعوب لم تتوقف دموعنا، لم تتوقف أموالنا لكم، تبرعاتنا لكم، جميلكم في رقابنا إلى يوم الدين. يا ملح الأرض، يا أكابر الأرض، يا خير أهل الأرض، يا أهل غزة. مبارك مبارك عليكم، مبارك عليكم النصر.
Millions of Southern Californians were on the edge as winds began picking up during the final round of the dangerous fire weather forecast for the region, where 2 massive blazes have killed at least 25 and destroyed thousands of homes already. One day after firefighters got a reprieve with lighter winds than expected, gusts on Wednesday were hitting up to 35 miles per hour on the coast and valleys and 55 miles per hour in the mountains before dawn. Eaton Fire's incident meteorologist James White said the weather observed so far has been good, and it's definitely good news. Take a look.
I'll go ahead and give you a quick update on the fire. Up around the north side of the fire, everything continued to look really well. All the way up around Mount Wilson, the crews are continuing to go direct as possible, improve our containment lines, mop up. We're using the helicopters today for any hot spots interior. We have infrared flights several times a day that we're continuing to utilize to put out any heat that comes up inside the fire perimeter. We are still within a red flag warning. We are confident that this fire will stay within the current footprint that it is in.
Officials at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park are bracing for crowds eager to get a glimpse of the lava fontaining from an eruption. Now, the eruption that began on the 23rd of December in a crater at the summit of Kilwa volcano has paused periodically. It resumed Wednesday morning as a small and sluggish flow and then increased into a fountain that appeared to be 60 meters high. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory has said it's possible fountain heights will increase as much as rather more gas-rich lava erupts. Another major fire that began almost 3 weeks ago in the Huapi National Park, one of the country's most beautiful reserves, has already consumed more than 9,884 acres of land. The Huapi National Park, which covers about 710,000 hectares, is known for Huapi, a lake of the glacial origin, and the tourist city of San Carlos de Belroque.
No nos dio tiempo a nada, no se sacó nada, no se sacó heladera, apenas un televisor. No pensamos que iba a ser tan arrasador el incendio, de dar tantas vueltas, un viento muy cambiante que hizo que de repente no haya ni una motobomba ni nada que pueda defender nuestras casas. ¿Qué va a hacer?
It's time we step into a short break. I'll see you on the other side.
It's gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. Down in Africa.
Liam transferred all his outstanding balances to his Barclay card, giving him 0% interest on all his surprises for Sarah. What you buy is your business. Helping you pay less interest is ours. Barclay card. Make money work for you.
New number 7 Pro Artist. When you want a luxury look, but don't have the luxury of time. You want to feel amazing, wherever you are. And have maximum impact, with minimal effort. Let the makeup be the pro. With new number 7 Pro Artist. Now 3 for 2.
What they don't tell you about getting older is how much fun it can be. Enjoying all the things you've worked so hard for. Spending time with the people that really matter. Not to mention, finally finding that precious time for yourself. I don't want anything taking my best years away from me, but like so many people, I've seen the heartbreak that dementia can cause. That's why I'm asking everyone to order this essential free guide from Alzheimer's Research UK. It's called Your Brain Matters. We all know what's good for our heart and our lungs, but do you know how to keep your brain healthy too? Well, this guide tells you how, in 7 steps you can start taking right now, whatever your age. Just ring the number on screen to get your free copy. Inside you'll find facts and tips that can keep your brain healthy and help reduce your risk of developing dementia. It's advice you can really trust from leading dementia scientists. Read it, keep it, and check back whenever you need to. Order your free copy now. Call Alzheimer's Research UK on 0800 035 5984 or text BRAIN2 to 78866. Think of it as another way of planning for your best years, because your brain really matters.
Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV. Scott Bessent, President-elect Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary, has pledged to ensure the dollar remains the world's reserve currency. In prepared Senate testimony, Bessent emphasized the need for productive investments to usher in a new economic golden age while criticizing wasteful spending. He also called for making Trump's 2017 tax cuts permanent and strengthening critical supply chains. JP Morgan Chase on Wednesday posted record annual profit as its deal makers and traders reaped a windfall from rebounding markets in the fourth quarter. The bank also forecast net interest income, or the difference between what it earns on loans and pays out on deposits, for 2025 above analysts' expectations. Now, this despite issuing repeated warnings that it may not sustain the level of growth. JP Morgan's strong results bode well for the banking sector, which is seeing a revival in deal-making and fundraising activities as the US Fed cuts interest rates to bolster the economy. Goldman Sachs, meanwhile, also posted a rise in the fourth quarter profit, benefiting from robust performance in its investment banking and trading units. A Toyota subsidiary, Hino Motors, has agreed to plead guilty and pay over $1.6 billion in fines to settle an emissions fraud case. The U.S. Justice Department, along with the FBI and the Environmental Protection Agency, announced the resolution of criminal and civil violations tied to falsified emissions data. This settlement reflects America's ongoing crackdown on corporate environmental misconduct. TikTok is reportedly preparing to shut down its US operations on Sunday, impacting 170 million American users, as a federal ban is set to take effect unless the Supreme Court, of course, intervenes. Meanwhile, reports suggest President-elect Donald Trump may issue an executive order to delay the ban for up to 90 days. The app's Chinese parent company ByteDance is required by US law to divest TikTok to prevent the ban, which also prohibits US companies from supporting the app. The US Department of Transportation has sued Southwest Airlines over chronically delayed flights, accusing the carrier of operating unrealistic schedules that disrupted passengers' travels. The lawsuit seeks maximum civil penalties and highlighted delays on key routes in 2022. That's 3 years ago. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said this sends a clear message about enforcing passenger protections. Frontier Airlines was also fined $650,000 for similar issues. According to Canalys data, Apple has dropped to third place in China's smartphone market for 2024, overtaken by Huawei and Vivo. iPhone sales fell 17% for the year, including a 25% plunge in only the fourth quarter, marking Apple's biggest ever decline, in fact, in China. Analysts cite stiff competition, lack of AI features, and rising demand for local brands as reasons for Apple's diminishing market share in one of its key global markets. With an impending ban of TikTok looming, many users of the popular video sharing app are in fact heading to alternative platforms, including RedNote. So-called TikTok refugees are now flocking to that platform, largely due to its looking so similar to the ByteDance-owned app. RedNote has become the top downloaded app in the US this month and has in fact quickly carved out a niche by combining e-commerce built around short video posts. In other words, it's very much like TikTok, albeit with a different name. However, appearance isn't the only thing RedNote has in common with TikTok. Both are in fact owned by Chinese-based firms.
This deal was developed and negotiated under my administration, but its terms will be implemented, for the most part, by the next administration. In these past few days, we've been speaking as one team. This has been a time of real turmoil in the Middle East. But as I prepare to leave office, our friends are strong, our enemies are weak, and there's genuine opportunities for a new future.
India's automakers plan to launch nearly a dozen new electric vehicles models in 2025, despite slowing global demand. The country's EV market leader, Tata Motors and JSW MG Motor, along with global giants like Hyundai, VinFast and Build Your Dreams or BYD, will showcase innovations at this year's New Delhi Auto Show. EV sales in India grew 20% in 2024, outpacing overall car sales, in fact, but high prices and limited charging infrastructure remain the biggest barriers. The government aims to boost EV adoption to 30% by 2030. Meta may need to quote-unquote roll back or pause some features in India due to an antitrust directive that bans WhatsApp from sharing user data with Meta for advertising purposes. The company is challenging the Competition Commission of India's November directive, which accused it of abusing its dominance and coercing WhatsApp users into accepting a privacy policy that allegedly expanded data collection and sharing. The CCI imposed a $24.5 million fine and a 5-year ban on WhatsApp's data sharing practice in India, which could affect Meta's ability to personalize ads on Facebook and even on Instagram. Microsoft has launched Copilot Chat, a pay-as-you-go AI service that helps businesses automate tasks like market research and strategy planning using GPT-4. While basic features are free, advanced options like transcribing team calls and creating PowerPoint slides require a $30 monthly subscription. Microsoft is betting on this service to drive AI adoption as it ramps up investment in its infrastructure, projected to cost $80 billion this fiscal year. Indian women set a new benchmark in one-day international cricket by recording their highest ever total in the format, powered by centuries from Pratika Rawal and skipper Smriti Mandhana. India crossed the 370-run mark in the 42nd over of the third ODI against Ireland in Rajkot, rewriting their previous record. India posted a mammoth 435 for 5 in their allotted 50 overs, surpassing all previous team totals by the women in blue. Now, this includes both Indian men's and as well as the women's teams in ODIs. This monumental feat overshadows the Indian men's highest score of 418 for 5, achieved against the West Indies in Indore back in 2011. World number 2 Iga Swiatek advanced to the third round of the Australian Open on Thursday after sweeping aside Rebeka Spramkova of Slovakia 6-0, 6-2.
And also, I realized, last year that I don't have like 100%. I realized, last year that I don't have like 100% influence on what happens with my ranking sometimes. So now I just focus on tennis, and if I play well, I know I'll be back at number 1. If I don't and Arena plays better, she'll be number 1. So I think it's just smarter to focus on tennis, and the ranking will come after that.
Canadian rapper Drake has filed a defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group, the record label he and rival Kendrick Lamar shared, over the latter artist's diss track, Not Like Us. The lawsuit filed in a New York federal court comes shortly after the Canadian rapper born Aubrey Drake Graham withdrew a legal challenge that he made against UMG and Spotify, alleging they artificially inflated the popularity of Lamar's track. UMG has responded by calling Drake's claims illogical. Best-selling British author Neil Gaiman has released a statement Wednesday denying he had ever engaged in non-consensual sex after a magazine this week published allegations from several women accusing him of sexual assault. The 64-year-old author of the Sandman comic book series and the novel American Gods was responded to an article detailing allegations of assault, abuse and coercion leveled by 8 women. Well, that's all we have for you today. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Now we move on to the next category, which is the Youth Icon of the Year. And for this, मैं एक बार फिर से request करूँगी आशा पारेख जी का स्टेज पर आने के लिए, और साथ ही इनवाइट करेंगे मयंक अग्रवाल जी को, CEO Gallant Group of Industries, to join us on stage for this next category of awards.
Ananya Pandey.
Congratulations, Ananya. And Ananya Pandey, actor, is getting this award for her advocacy work on combating cyberbullying, growing achievements in the film industry, and strong influence on social media. And that's what makes Ananya Pandey NDTV Youth Icon of the Year 2024. She represents a blend of modern values, relatability, and a commitment to meaningful causes, which are essential qualities for inspiring today's youth.
Congratulations, very many congratulations.
Thank you.
And Ananya, there are just a few questions for
Yes.
you. You've, diverse characters, and you've made a shift from big screen to OTT. Big superstars have done their shift. What is your opinion on that, and what's your next move?
Firstly, I just want to thank NDTV for this award. It's truly very, very humbling, and to get it from Asha Parekh ji, I'm such a big fan of your work, so this is a pinch me moment for sure. I don't believe any screen is too big or small. It's a screen at the end of the day, and the world is developing so fast. There's so many changes that are being made, so I think we're all just keeping up with the times.
Ananya, the fact is that 2024, this year, has been phenomenal for you. One success after another. Kahan Kho Gaye Hum, Call Me Bae, CTRL. How does it feel to have multiple successes in one single year?
It's really a dream come true. I really think this year for me, more than ever, I felt very connected to my fans with Kho Gaye Hum Kahan and Call Me Bae and Control. I've done movies in the past, but this is the first time that I felt true love from the audience. And, all these films and shows have been conversation starters. People have not just come up to me and said that they like my work, but how my work has kind of made them feel seen or represented on screen. And for an actor, I think that's a huge victory for me.
So Asha ji is here on stage, and I sometimes back मैंने आपसे ये पूछा था कि आज के दौर में स्टारडम कैसे हैंडल करना है, तो अनन्या आपके साथ हैं जो स्टारडम को एक अलग तरीके से हैंडल कर रही हैं. कुछ एडवाइस अनन्या के लिए, या अनन्या आपको आशा जी से कुछ पूछना है?
जी, आप प्लीज बताइए, आप मुझे एडवाइस दीजिए प्लीज.
क्या बताऊं?
कुछ भी, आप कुछ भी बताइए, मैं ले लूंगी.
Sincerity, hard work takes you in a long way. That's what I.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
A very good afternoon. You're watching NDTV 24/7. Let's get you the latest as far as Israel and Hamas that have agreed now to a temporary ceasefire, opening a path to end the 15 months of intense fighting in Gaza that has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians. The agreement, which the Israeli cabinet is yet to approve, is set to take effect from the 17th of January, that's Sunday, and see the phased-out release of 33 Israeli hostages as well as Palestinian prisoners. While Israel will pull its troops from densely populated areas in Gaza, it is the United States President Joe Biden who's taken credit for the negotiations, but analysts also pointed to the incoming Trump administration's efforts to pressure Israel on the deal. Israeli forces, however, are continuing with their attacks across the Gaza Strip, killing at least 30 Palestinians in the enclave since the agreement was announced. Still, the agreement is just a fragile reprieve lasting just 6 weeks, and celebrations in Gaza were cautious as per multiple reports.
والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية الإعلان عن نجاح جهود الوساطة المشتركة بوصول طرفي النزاع في قطاع غزة إلى اتفاق بشأن تبادل الأسرى والرهائن والعودة إلى الهدوء المستدام وصولا لوقف دائم لإطلاق النار بين الجانبين.
I'd also note this deal was developed and negotiated under my administration, but its terms will be implemented for the most part by the next administration. In these past few days, we've been speaking as one team. This has been a time of real turmoil in the Middle East. But as I prepare to leave office, our friends are strong, our enemies are weak, and there's a genuine opportunities for a new future.
And let's get you the very latest, and this is in regard to that peace deal for Ukraine that could take months, in fact, to work out. Advisors to Donald Trump have said, as per reports, while the president-elect has promised a quick resolution to the nearly 3-year war, analysts as well as his associates now forecast a drawn-out timeline. Hopes for a deal within Trump's first 100 days in office are way too optimistic, as a former U.S. ambassador to Kiev that has gone on to say, as Trump's inauguration approaches, Ukraine is responding more aggressively to attacks on its energy infrastructure. Kiev this week launched its biggest aerial assault on Russian territory since the invasion. Ukraine doesn't have much left to lose at this point, a Russian security expert said, so they can just go ahead and take the gloves off. After half a century in politics, Joe Biden bid farewell in an Oval Office address. The outgoing U.S. president delivered his farewell address, seizing what may be his final opportunity to reshape Americans' grim views on his term before he departs the White House. Joe Biden opened his speech by taking credit for the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, while Joe Biden also warned of a growing issue as far as America is concerned and what it could be facing, while also highlighting the achievements of his administration. Reflecting on his tenure, he stated, "It'll take time to feel the full impact of what we've done together," delivering what could be his final chance to influence public perception of his presidency. Biden declared that his administration launched a new era of American possibilities.
Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. And together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities.
And let's just get you the latest from Russia's Russian President Vladimir Putin, who may soon have discussions with newly elected US President Donald Trump, during which he will demand that Ukraine never join NATO. That is what Bloomberg is reporting. But Putin's position also contradicts Trump's stated desire to end the war as quickly as possible, and maybe aimed at granting Russia more flexibility in the upcoming negotiations. Bloomberg's report further noted that Russia's advances in eastern Ukraine have been slow and have come at a heavy cost. Let's get you the latest as far as JP Morgan Chase on Wednesday posted record annual profit as its deal makers and traders reaped a windfall from rebounding markets in the fourth quarter. The bank also forecasts net interest income, or the difference between what it earns on loans and pays out on deposits, for 2025 above analysts' expectations, despite issuing repeated warnings that it may not sustain the level of growth. JP Morgan's strong result bode well for the banking sector, which is seeing a revival in deal-making and fund-raising activities as the United States Federal Reserve cuts interest rates to bolster the economy. Goldman Sachs also posted a rise in the fourth quarter profit, benefiting from robust performance in its investment banking and trading units. A Toyota subsidiary, Hino Motors, has agreed to plead guilty and pay over $1.6 billion in fines to settle an emissions fraud case. The U.S. Justice Department, along with the FBI and Environmental Protection Agency, announced the resolution of criminal and civil violations tied to falsified emissions data. This settlement reflects America's ongoing crackdown on corporate environmental misconduct. Now, according to data, Apple has dropped to the third place in China's smartphone market for 2024. Overtaken by Huawei and Vivo, iPhone sales fell 17% for the year 2024, including a 25% plunge in the fourth quarter, marking Apple's biggest ever decline in China. Analysts cite stiff competition, lack of AI features, and this is also the rising demand for local brands. Those are perhaps the reasons for Apple's diminishing market share in one of its key global markets. India's automakers plan to launch nearly a dozen new electric vehicle models in 2025 despite showing global demand. The country's EV market leaders, Tata Motors and JSW MG Motor, along with global giants like Hyundai and VinFast and BYD, will showcase innovations at this year's New Delhi Auto Show. EV sales in India grew 20% last year in 2024, outpacing overall car sales. But high prices and limited charging infrastructure still remain a barrier. The government aims to boost EV adoption by almost 30%, but that will take another 5 years, almost by 2030. Meta may need to roll back or pause some features in India due to an antitrust directive that bans WhatsApp from sharing user data with Meta for advertising purposes. Meta is challenging the Competition Commission of India, the CCI, the November directive from them, which accused it of abusing its dominance and coercing WhatsApp users into accepting a privacy policy that allegedly expanded data collection as well as sharing. CCI imposed a $24.5 million, we're talking about US dollars, fine, and a 5-year ban on WhatsApp's data sharing practice in India, which could affect Meta's ability to personalize ads on Facebook as well as Instagram. Microsoft has launched Copilot Chat, a pay-as-you-go AI service that helps businesses automate tasks like market research and strategy planning using GPT-4. While basic features are free, advanced options like transcribing team calls and creating PowerPoint slides, that requires a fee. This is a subscription of almost $30 a month. Microsoft is betting on this service to drive AI adoption as it ramps up investments in AI infrastructure, a project that is going to be costing. This is the project that will cost $80 billion this fiscal year itself. Welcome back. Let's get you the latest on Bollywood actor Saif Ali Khan, who was injured early this morning at about 2:30 after an intruder entered his residence at the Sadhguru Sharan building in the Bandra area of Mumbai. The intruder attacked the actor with a knife. He sustained 6 wounds. These were 6 injuries that the actor sustained and then was rushed to the Leelavati hospital. At about 3:30 is when the actor reached the Leelavati hospital and underwent surgery. The actor is said to be out of danger as per the hospital. His spinal fluid was leaked out after shards of the attacker's knife lodged into his spine during that fight that the actor put up against the intruder at his residence. The doctor at Leelavati Hospital said that they repaired the spinal injury and also performed plastic surgeries on his hand, his neck. Those are the areas where the actor got stabbed. Adding that the 54-year-old actor is completely out of danger at the moment and is recovering well. As per the team, well, from what we are hearing is it was the son of the actor, the eldest son, Ibrahim, who accompanied his father in an auto rickshaw. Visuals on your screen right after that scuffle that broke out in which the actor was injured multiple times by the intruder. Well, he was then rushed to the Leelavati hospital, which is about 2 kilometers away from the residence of the actor. You can see Kareena Kapoor Khan talking to her staff right outside the residence. And that auto rickshaw that you see is the auto rickshaw that drove Saif Ali Khan and his son Ibrahim. He was accompanied by his eldest son. They rushed to the Lilavati hospital just 2 kilometers away, and they reached at about 3:30 in the morning after that scuffle in which Saif Ali Khan was injured. There were 2 injuries which were deeper than the others, including one that was very close to his spinal cord. He was also injured around his neck area, and those are the injury marks. Those are the injuries that were deeper than the other injury marks that the actor sustained. Of course, the family has come out and released a statement saying that the actor